and I'm glad you called it a failure. I think it's really important that we distinguish between a person who is a failure and a failed venture, right? And I think when I closed down church Resolved, I was saying, oh, well, we failed at it, right? And people go, no, you didn't fail, right? Because, God did great things.
People became Christians.
Yeah, absolutely.
People met and
absolutely. But I say it was a failure because we tried to plant a start-up, like a self-sustaining church, and we didn't achieve that goal, right? And so that was hard. In probably 4 years, the last 4 years, which is 50% of the time it was going, I took some time out every September to think and pray about whether we should move forward for another year and talk to certain people. And I can remember my final year going, I just don't think, the money was down. I was preaching everywhere I could for money for the church. And a few people were leaving for good reasons at the end of the year, and they told me, and I could see the problem with a small church plant like we had was it's very leader heavy, like it's very tiring for leaders. And I think we'd burned out a bunch of leaders, and I could see that happening again. And so I was thinking, man, like what can I do? I picked up a book actually by a guy named Ryan Holiday, and it was called Ego is the Enemy, and he talks about how ego is the enemy when you start, when you are successful, but when you fail. And he said one of the reasons why we hate failure is because of our ego, right? We don't want to say, hey, I have failed, because then you look like a loser. And when I realized one of the main things that was holding me back from actually going, we've done our best, right? We've tried our best, and if under the sovereignty of God, it just didn't get off the ground, was my ego, right? So I needed to realize that whether Resolve kept going and realize the dreams that I had for it, or whether it finished, I was still a child of God, still beloved by God, still my name is still written in the Lamb's Book of Life, and that's where my identity should be formed. Not whether I'm a church planter or successful, whatever that means.
So it doesn't crush you because of the internal monologue. Was this something that you had to learn through the process of failure, or this is something that allowed you to process that failure well, so that it didn't crush you and it didn't?
Well, I had been feeling like a failure for ages, right? And so having to deal with it, I remember when Tim Keller came to town. I went to the conference, and talking to some of my mates who had planted churches or pastors, and they were like telling me all their victory stories, and it was a Monday. I just felt really low, felt like I didn't want to be there, and I can remember I was standing in the second row. The music came on, they were singing, and I just started crying in the middle of it. And I can remember the chick on stage who was from the States saw me, and then afterwards she came up to me and she said, I just love it when in the middle of worship the Spirit really touches somebody. And I said, oh yeah, isn't that great? Thinking, she thought obviously I was touched by the Spirit and crying. But really I was having this egotistical moment where I was going, man, I'm a failure, I don't deserve to be here.